I'd like to suggest to you now how I consolidate all of this into a change model. I'm inviting you to do the same, because when you go out in the world and you're leading an organization and you want to make change, it's very unlikely that you're going to pick one of these and just go down recipe step by step. You will be using your own VABES, your own understanding about the change process. So it's important, I think, that you have this clearly in mind at level 2, bring it up out of semi-consciousness so that your assumptions about how you lead change are explicit, and you can look at them and discuss them and in fact teach them to others. So here's the model that I've developed. It seems to me that people are going along from day to day in a comfort zone. They have developed a set of habits. They're doing things the way they like to do them. And then at some point, they may encounter some new data. And if that is confirming data, that is, gee, great class, or I really enjoyed your book, or I like the way you handled that last sales meeting, or I really liked your new design for the new product, then we're reinforced and we'll continue along on our baseline behavior. If we get disconfirming data, where people say, I didn't like your class, I didn't like that meeting, I didn't like that new product you designed, then we've got a problem. And there are a number of things we can do with this disconfirming data. We could, it's painful to begin with for anyone, so we could deny it, distort it, discount it, or ignore it altogether, in which case we'll go right back to our former way of behaving. We will return to our historic baseline. So you could consider this almost like a bowstring. If you pull up on it, it wants to go back to your habitual set. Now, some people, when they get disconfirming data, say, well, that's a good thing. This is an opportunity for learning. This is an opportunity to grow. And feedback is friendly. Facts are friendly as opposed to negative. Now, this is a big deal. I've seen a lot of executives who cannot take feedback, who cannot receive disconfirming evidence. And they shoot the messenger. They discount what they have to say. They are in denial. Now, that's not to say that every bit of feedback is necessarily true or accurate. But it is feedback, it is data, and the wise leader, in my experience, will at least listen to it, consider it, think about it, and be open to the possibility that, gee, boss, maybe you should be doing things a little differently, and if you did, it would be to your benefit as well as to the benefit of the company and the people who are talking to you. And that said, in my experience, many senior executives have become so either concerned about the fear of rejection, or so caught up in the notion that they know what's the right thing to do, that they are not only resistant to constructive feedback, but they're actually vengeful and mean about the people who bring it to them. So self-awareness here is an important thing. Some people get bored, these would be the spiral types, for example, get bored with doing the same thing day after day, and they may actually, with some enthusiasm or high on the buy-in scale, search for new ways of doing things, looking for alternatives. So it may be that outside in, the pain may force you to look for alternatives as well. But whether you get to it from a pain point of view or because you like the idea of exploring, the next step in the change process is looking for alternative ways of doing things. And if you find one, you might try a little experiment. But an experiment, by definition, means you're breaking something. Breaking old habits, breaking a pattern, breaking a procedure, breaking a design to try something different. And that experiment will generate new data. And that new data will be either confirming. In the case that it's confirming, that is, things go better, you may say, well, hey, That's a payoff. That's a pretty good thing. I think I will continue doing that. And now I have a new baseline that is different from the one I had before. So if I pursue this new baseline, I've got a new set of habits. Now, we talked with the Lewin model. You may not want to refreeze those too hard, because who knows, in the next 3 years something is going to change in the environment and you'll have to do it differently. If your experimental data results are negative, then that's going to hurt. That's going to be disconfirming, and then you'll say, aha, I told you, we ought to go back to doing what we've always been doing. So again, you can think of your baseline habitual behavior here as like a bowstring. And the more you pull away from your habits, the more it wants to snap back to the old way of doing things. So if you've got this process in mind and you're trying to lead it, what you could do is suggest that all of these red L's are places where leaders could make a difference. You could help someone out of their comfort zone. You could deliver disconfirming data. You could help people deal with the embarrassment or the loss of face or the pain that they feel from failure. You could help them get out of denial or distortion or discounting of disconfirming data. You could show enthusiasm, give them ideas for new alternatives, help them run their experiments, help them interpret the results they got, and help them reinforce and support these small wins as they make changes moving forward. So that's the way I think about the change process. I'm curious as to what your particular process might be. I've thought through it for myself, and I wonder how your particular process is unfolding, and whether or not our discussion today has helped you think about and perhaps change the model that you had in mind at the beginning. So the point is not that you should necessarily pick one. The point is that you should make explicit in your own mind at level 2, so that you can describe it at level 1 what your model of change is. And if it works and you're able to implement change initiatives effectively, and you get high buy-in from the people you're trying to work with, and the organization is moving forward, great. If not, then the question comes back to your change intelligence. Are you open to the need for change, not only in what others do, but in what you do, so that you might consider, maybe I need to change my approach, because if I keep dealing with it the way I'm dealing with it now, I'll continue getting the results I've been getting. And those results, remember, we can think of in terms of the buy-in scale.